influences it as the editor, but he also writes some of the major articles that you read there. So without any further introduction, I'd like to introduce Paul.
Thank you, Tom. On behalf of Soccer America, I'm glad to be here tonight. As Tom said, I'm the manager of Soccer America, which some of you may have read and know of it as a national soccer magazine. We also happen to be a Bay Area company, founded 25 years ago. Soccer America is based in Berkeley, California, and was started in 1971 by a man by the name of Clay Burling, who was an insurance agent in the Bay Area. And he became interested in soccer simply because, as a young father, he was looking for sports to go to. In the late 60s, there was a team called Oakland Clippers, which was an old North American soccer league. And he started going to the games, and he realized that as more and more soccer came along, there was a need for people to write about it. And in 1971, he started a magazine, what is now known as Soccer America. At that time, it was called Soccer West, and it was primarily devoted to activities in soccer in the Bay Area and in California, a little bit on the Pacific. And the point of all that is, I can look back then in terms of Soccer America. I started reading it a couple years later. As Tom said, at a young age, I became fascinated with sport. Went to college in 1973. Started writing about it, and followed it very closely ever since. And I can remember getting copies of Soccer America in those early days and seeing pictures of games. And again, in those days, Soccer America was very small. You remember it was 8.5 by 11 format, all black and white. And we used to get pictures from Balboa Stadium. And they were really about the only photos we had in the magazine. And I forget the guy's name, I think it was something Echeverria, who sent these photos in of teams that many of you have probably played on or followed in later years. And my point is, if you look at soccer, what it was then in the Bay Area, and you look at it what it is now, it is really amazing how far the sport has come along. And to think in terms of some of the projects that people here are working on and are going to talk about a little later on. At that time, soccer in the Bay Area really consisted of what was going around Balboa Park. Obviously, Steve Nadeausko had a program at University of San Francisco, which already in 1966 had been a national champion. But soccer was very young and not much going on. And if you look at it now, and what's going on in the Bay Area this year, it's pretty amazing the difference. In the papers, many of you are obviously players at an active level looking for fields to play in every week, and probably in a participation level, one of the most amazing things to see is how much coverage has been given to the issue of fields for soccer players. Chronicles had several big stories about it. In Soccer America last week, we even had a quote from Mayor Brown saying how important soccer was and how much the city now was having to address the issue of finding fields for them. And obviously, the people at Treasure Island Project is working on looking in that area. But again, as I say, if you look at then and now, people play Balboa, so played, say, Golden Gate Park, but there was not much going on. And now, this year, if you look up around the Bay Area, you start, say, down in San Jose, where you had the Clash playing at Spartan Stadium. Come up a little farther, you get Santa Clara, where later this fall you'll have the Women's National Championship for Women's Division I. Stanford obviously had the World Cup games in 1984, and later this fall you'll have what will be a critical World Cup qualifying game for the United States. You also have, here in the Bay Area, you have Nadeausko Stadium, which little by little has become one of the classic soccer stadiums in this country. Across the bay where we are, California Berkeley is working on a project to next year finish the renovation of the stadium that they hope one day will become the site of an NCAA Final Four. And the other two stadiums, which everyone follows here right now, baseball stadium at Candlestick Park here in San Francisco. Across the bay, you got the Coliseum. Next Wednesday, you got an international friendly between Mexico and Ecuador. And Mayor Brown again was talking to the Clash because of the whole issue of finding a place to play long term. And the city of San Francisco obviously looking to have a team in whether it's Candlestick Park if the 49ers ever leave, or 49ers and a soccer team for the project. And again, there's nothing there before. Now there's a lot going on. And to some degree, the question for all the players who are playing on the Nighthawks or the Seals, the question is, where do we fit in, and what does it mean to us in the sense of, if you look back 25 years ago, women's soccer, in terms of the Nighthawks soccer, did not exist. Maybe there were a few people playing, but it wasn't until the late 70s the UNED college program started. Now you've gone the stage of having college programs started, to having just about every college in the country having a women's program. And now, thanks to the U.S. Women's League, having teams being formed so that players who play after college get the opportunity to do some traveling and stay in the game. And if you look at the Seals, the last 2 years they've gone to Richmond, Virginia for one final, this past year to Spokane. And the two things about the Seals is that, again, 25 years ago, most of you guys were probably playing, say, in the Balboa Stadium, playing for a team like that. And that would have been fine. But you look today, you get an opportunity to travel up down the West Coast. I think I just said you went to Spokane, I think you all went to Charleston, is that right? But the point is that as young players out of school, get an opportunity to do something in the game that did not exist 25 years ago. So as you all work on programs with the Seals, whether it's with Treasure Island or the Shanghai Cup, I think that the game has really come a long way, and it means that in the progress that was made 25 years ago, there's a tremendous amount that can be done ahead of time. And the last thing I want to do before we have the rest of the speakers is for Tom Simpson on behalf of Soccer America, I want, in honor of our 20th anniversary, I have a little gift for you. So let's come up here. This is one of our, I like to celebrate our 20th anniversary this year. And this is one of our 20th anniversary scarves that we'd like to present to you. Put it on! Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul. I didn't expect that, and that's a very special thing. Okay, before we move on to the next speaker, just a couple of comments. One comment is that you can see up here a number of photos and uniforms. We brought the uniforms for one purpose, and that is to show them off. We think that our uniforms are about as sorry, do I need to move somewhere? Stand up. We think our uniforms are as attractive as they come. I mean, that's one of those things that... Again, this is really, the brainchild of Rich Graham and for Richie, had to twist my arm in order to get sensitized to this part of the game, but I'm getting there, and Richie, I want to thank you for this. I forgot to do one thing earlier in the evening, and I want to do that now, and that is, if you notice, there's a patch on the right shoulder of this arm, and that patch is made up of the Spanish national flag and the letters EY, and in the middle, the number of 1 down in the lower right corner, and in the upper left corner are the initials WA. The initials WA stand for With Us Always, and the letters EY stand for the name of Eduardo Yoldi, who was our goalkeeper for the 1995 season, and who everybody that has been in association with has learned was one of the most special people that's ever been involved in our program, not just as a player but as a human. We tragically lost him in September of 1995, just as he was to embark on an illustrious MLS career, as we were sure that was going to happen, in a motorcycle accident. So, because I forgot to mention him earlier, and in honor of Eduardo, and before our next speaker, just one moment of silence. And thank you, Eduardo. I know he's listening. Back to the other part of this is that these pictures, photographs, are available to you, and if you wish to get one, you just have to contact Rich, and he'll make sure you are. As are the uniforms, by the way. We are going into this part of the business, and these are team photographs from last year. Team photographs from this year, both shot at the national championship sites. And if you would like to have one, like I say, just contact Rich. He has it in the large form, he has it in the smaller form, and he'll tell you how you can get one. Okay, now for our next speaker. I left my notes somewhere. Where did I put them? All right, for our next speaker, I have the great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who introduces himself to me as a farm boy from the Midwest, something like that, who now sits, Vermont, who now, I guess it's I hit the Midwest because of the Notre Dame thing. You're from the Midwest. Philip Boyle is a soccer nut from the get-go. His early life was spent playing soccer. He played in Notre Dame as a goalkeeper, and later developed an intense interest in Chinese culture, language, now business and international affairs. He is a member of the San Francisco's Shanghai Sister City Committee, and he is also an attorney who practices and teaches law. He's a lecturer at the University of California in Berkeley, and his courses emphasize subjects which deal with doing business in China. We are delighted and honored to have him as a member of our Seals family, and to have him here tonight. And he's going to talk about our future vision of a Shanghai San Francisco Sister City Cup, which we hope will be an annual affair. We play 2 games a year, one there, one here, and the winner of the cup, of course, will keep it. Anyway, Philip, would you please come up here and.
Thanks very much, Tom. Boy, I thought he was going to go on for a lot longer, but that was plenty. Actually, he went on so long that he basically said everything I was going to say. So, thanks very much.
All right.
I could probably make up a few things. First, I just wanted to say it's a real pleasure to be here tonight and to have the opportunity to introduce the audience, most of whom I think you all know each other pretty well, to some of the Sister City folks who were trying to put together this idea that Tom had sort of outlined for you. The details have yet to be sort of spelled out, but we're working on that now. As you can imagine, there's a lot to think about in moving 30 or 35 people over the ocean, coming here and going back over there, and just the logistics involved is quite a bit. But fortunately, we have the able assistance of our friends at the Chinese consulate, who have pledged to help us in whatever way they can. And we're now searching for corporate sponsorships and other means of the financial wherewithal to make this worthwhile event happen. About a year ago, we started talking about this idea about an exchange of soccer between China and the United States. I know that perhaps Lori's going to talk a little bit about the Clash's plans to go over to Asia. But in this particular San Francisco-Shanghai relationship, I think it's a unique opportunity to blend the charitable friendship activities with sport and the goodwill that soccer generates in all of us, and has done over the years for, touched all of our lives, I'm sure. So we get a little exposure, and to the Chinese culture, to the Chinese way of life. Believe me, soccer in China is hot right now. It's really most popular sport by far, and you can't turn on a television set in China without seeing some sort of score or a game or something on Chinese television. So in the Chinese spirit, I know that soccer players don't like to drink very much usually, but in the Chinese spirit, I thought we'd just all raise our glasses and have a toast to the relationship between San Francisco and Shanghai, and the game of soccer may bring us all a little bit closer together. Banquet, huh? And thanks very much for your time. I'll turn the podium back over to Tom.
Well, you did an excellent job improvising, given the disadvantage of me taking on most of the wind out of your sails. I think you did a fabulous job. Before I introduce the next speaker, there was anticipation that Mayor Willie Brown would be here tonight, and we had received word that he was going to come, but at the last moment, unfortunately, that wasn't able to happen. However, he has sent instead a proclamation signed by him that I want to read. And this is a proclamation of the City and County of San Francisco, and it reads, whereas in 1985, the San Francisco United Soccer Club was founded, becoming the premier soccer club in the City and County of San Francisco, and whereas SFUSC has fielded the most successful youth and adult soccer teams in the history of San Francisco, most notable of which is the San Francisco Bay Seals of the United System of Independent Soccer Leagues, and whereas the San Francisco Bay Seals are homegrown products who have become the most successful team in the USISL and brought honor to the City and County of San Francisco due to its unparalleled success and national recognition. And whereas SFUSC, the parent organization of the Seals, is devoted to the development of youth of the inner city of San Francisco and employs soccer as its vehicle for creating role models and to expand options through educational tutoring. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Willie Brown, Jr., Mayor of the City and County of San Francisco, in recognition of the San Francisco Bay Seals soccer team, do hereby proclaim the 21st day of June 1997 as the San Francisco Bay Seals Day. Our next speaker is from the USISL and UMBRO, and he is going to introduce a tape to us. So his name is Rolf Hemmerling. Rolf is a board member of the USISL and has a tremendous history in business, international relations, and is now most recently devoting his energies towards soccer. He has had experience in the Far East, and he was at one time the managing director of UMBRO International. He's got an impressive resume. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the important thing right now is that he's with us. He represents the USISL and he represents Umbro, and he's got something to tell us about that. So.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to appear before you and talk a little about Umbro, USISL, and Umbro's great wishes to work with San Francisco and Shanghai to make the Sister City Cup a great success. They've asked me to talk about Umbro and the USISL. I've always found that the most effective way to get a message across is through pictures. So if we can roll our video, and I will follow up afterwards.
Flamengo. They played at packed stadiums in Holland, England, Argentina, and Brazil. They performed with speed, stamina, power, agility, and grace. They are heroes. They are champions. Their game is soccer, the world's game, and now a game for all of North America.
World's game returns to Ireland. Fascinating crowd for the 28,000 makes up the stadium up for soccer.
Over the past 2 decades, a quiet revolution led by the youth of America has taken place in cities and towns across our country. Bats and gloves have given way to shorts and cleats. No more standing around in right field. This revolution is about having room to run. It's about total involvement, non-stop action, split-second decisions, having fun. American kids have adopted soccer, the international game, as their favorite pastime. They've taken it home to their family. Soccer is 2 kids, some friends, and a dog loaded into the family van on a Saturday morning. It's the joy of kicking the ball, the fun of being out there with your buddies, sharing victories, learning from a tough loss. But it's so much more now. A generation of soccer-playing kids has grown up, and so has the sport. First generation of adults who played soccer as kids. They're grown-ups now. They have families, full-time jobs, responsibilities. But guess what? They still like soccer. They coach it, play it, watch it. They can't get enough. This new generation of soccer fans have watched the sport emerge from backyards, sandlots, and beaches all over America. They've seen the first great soccer players emerge from the USA's youth system. They cheered when the USA qualified for its first World Cup in 40 years. 3.5 million of them filled stadiums as the US hosted the 1994 World Cup, and as the US won the first Women's World Cup. 76,000 of them packed into Athens to watch the U.S. women take the 1996 Olympic gold medal. And another 85,000 went to watch the men's Olympic gold soccer match. In cities and towns across the USA, soccer fans are poised to embrace their own homegrown heroes. The kids who have grown up in those communities and made it through high school, college, and are now breaking into the pros. Professional soccer, a showcase of the best homegrown talent in the USA and Canada. Those North American players now have a league of their own. That league is the USISL. Founded on the concept that soccer's grassroots popularity is rooted in cities and towns across the USA. 5 leagues, more than 100 teams with full rosters of hometown players. A network of big league candidates playing in their own hometowns. Players who have one goal in mind, to play the game, be the best they can be.
We are clearly needed, as the rest of the world knows. There are second divisions, third divisions, fourth divisions, amateur divisions, youth clubs, etc. Only now is American soccer ready to begin doing something parallel to that. In an Americanized way, but we are ready for that. The USISL, in fact, can be literally a one-stop shop situation for major professional soccer. We will now be at least the bridge for that kid in Sioux City, Iowa, on Spokane, Washington, and many other small, mid-sized communities. They can now aspire to get to Major League Soccer, whether it's Milan, Barcelona, Lisbon, whatever. We are there to help them bridge the gap.
For a young player, the road to the top runs through the various competitive levels of American soccer. At the foundation is perhaps the most sophisticated youth soccer system in the world. A network of 6 million registered players. At the next level is high school and collegiate soccer, along with men's and women's amateur leagues in all 50 states, all leading to the pinnacle, Major League Soccer. The USISL is the tie that binds this sophisticated soccer network together, taking the best American soccer has to offer and providing it structure and support. USISL is a system of leagues with various competitive levels. It is supported by a strong base of youth soccer, featuring local boys and girls, many of them in the towns of USISL-based clubs. The premier amateur leagues are a starting point for adults who aspire for a higher level of play. Division III is the first level of professional soccer and is a showcase for local players to display their abilities for hometown fans. Division II is the highest competitive level within the USISL. Formed in 1996 by a merger with the A-League, the USISL's second division, the last developmental hurdle for players aiming for the pros, is the official feeder system for the MLS.
Here in the United States, we're beginning a new era in the game of soccer. The MLS, we want to be successful, but for it to be successful, there has to be a feeder system. There has to be somewhere for the kids to go before it gets to the MLS. And that's where we see USISL playing a major role in the development of players through to the MLS.
Completing the soccer network and providing additional support for this 3-tier approach are the USA's first ever high-level women's league and a league of highly competitive indoor teams.
For many, we will be all that they'll ever be, and that's fine too. At the same time, we want to be, as I've mentioned, a one-stop shop situation. We don't want to just be a quote-unquote AAA, AA look-alike of soccer, using baseball terminology. We have the only league in America for women, arguably the best players in the world. We have an indoor league that is primarily used as an ancillary to the teams, a means of training year-round and playing and doing some marketing in some situations. But equally important, we have or will have a series of youth leagues as well. Because although we probably will not be able to exactly duplicate European, South American soccer clubs, cradle to the grave concept, we are going to go after that to the extent that it is possible to do it in America.
The USISL plays a continuing role in providing young players with inspiration and role models, helping to build soccer heroes at the local level. Amateurs and professionals playing side by side in the same regions of the country. Players with whom the kids can identify and emulate. But heroes aren't born. You make them. With organization and dedication and hard work, the USISL helps to create memories, build national stars, and inspire young players everywhere.
I think that's very important for the growth of the game, that the kids today can look up to the stars of today and the stars of tomorrow. But the USISL, what excites us about the USISL is it gives a great opportunity for the kids today to begin the climb up the ladder and become the stars of tomorrow.
The USISL, we're really in the business of creating heroes.
So really, it's all about developing hometown heroes, because that's the way the sport has grown everywhere in the world. We have a mission, we have an important role to play, because for some kids out in Sioux City, Iowa, it may be the best thing that will ever happen to him and to that community. For someone else in Minnesota, Los Angeles, Long Island, New York, whatever, we may in fact be only a stepping stone to Major League Soccer or to some big-time European league.
The USISL is the biggest sports league in North America because it's based on unlimited opportunity, shaped by a love for a beautiful sport, and supported by people and organizations who are devoted to soccer.
USISL has brought together, we believe, a wonderful network of people all over the country. And this network is, we believe, the real next generation of this sport in the United States. We believe the USISL has provided leadership and will continue to provide leadership in this evolution.
There is opportunity for all. The USISL is a sports organization, but more than that, it is a system of leagues dedicated to promoting and growing the game of soccer to its highest level. Our markets are exploding. In 1996, almost 17 million people in the U.S. participated in soccer. 6 million of them played in organized leagues. The USISL provides a link with these consumers and enthusiastic spectators, and presently offers unlimited access to over 100 soccer markets throughout the U.S. and Canada. We own a niche that at the same time is unique and all-embracing. We're flexible, innovative, meeting needs and shaping the future, dedicated to promoting and enhancing the world's game. Like many successful enterprises, we're built on heart and soul, but unlike any other, our business is totally exciting, totally soccer. We're creating heroes. We're America's league. We're the USISL.
Briefly, in an era of fragmentation, we believe in inclusion, a chance for all people to be all they can be within the league. Our goal is to provide a framework based upon the vision that Francisco Marcos had about how to build a soccer league, based upon the vision that Jack Stone has, how to build soccer from the grassroots. Combining those two powerful forces and allow us to build an opportunity working with our friends from MLS so a person can go from grammar school to high school to college to USISL to MLS to Europe to Japan to South America to build a career. So whether you want to have fun on an afternoon and that's all you want to do, or if you want to build a career, that's what the USISL opportunity really is. And we are here to help build that dream for a lot of people. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Our next speaker is probably the one speaker tonight who needs no introduction. I think everybody in the Bay Area knows who Lori Calloway is. But if you've been somehow locked in a closet somewhere and just haven't been reading your soccer newspapers or whatever your access to sports information is, Lori Calloway is the coach of the San Jose Clash. He is a long-standing member of the Bay Area soccer community. His history in soccer goes back a long ways. He was a professional in England before he came to the United States and played for the Earthquakes back when, 70s, 100 years ago, Lori says. Was the coach of the Blackhawks, whom everybody recognizes being, during the heyday of the APLS, the quality team in the United States, represented us very well. He is without doubt, up to this point in time, the most successful and most recognized soccer coach in the United States. We are lucky to have him in the Bay Area, and we're delighted to have him here tonight.
Thank you, Tom. Very kind words. I would argue with the last statement somewhat. I think there's a couple of people in the room who have done a lot for the game and have been very successful. And I'll mention them kindly in a few minutes. First of all, congratulations to this organisation, Tom, the board, the players, the supporters of what I still have a hard time not calling the All Blacks, because the All Blacks was always a favourite sports team of mine throughout the ages, and I'm not sure whether that's the reason you don't call yourself the All Blacks anymore, but the Seals organisation is a credit to this area, it's a credit to this city, and it's a credit to soccer. And a lot of that is due to this man I know, who I've watched and respected for the last few years building this entity, which is now one of the most successful soccer programs in the United States. Backed originally by a youth program, which is always dear to my heart, and trying to evolve something that has a progressive development as part of its mission for young players through to the older levels. A lot of people are saying that the MLS is one of the best things that's happened to the soccer in the United States in the last few years, but this man who we've just seen on this video, Francisco Marcos, is one of the best things that's happened to the United States in recent years. This man had a vision, perhaps because he's from a European system in Portugal where he knows the need for development. He knows the need for regionalized leagues. He knows the need for not aiming too high and blowing it all. He had that vision a number of years ago. I've been fortunate enough to know Francisco for 22 years, since I came to this country. He was the Director of Player Development for the Tampa Bay Rowdies way back then, and we used to pass during my days in the NASL. That league was much needed. We have tremendous college programs now, a great example of which has been built here by Steve Negoesco. We have better high school commitment from the bodies that run high school soccer, men and women. We have a better national team structure now, a federation that is more committed perhaps, and more mission orientated, more goal orientated. But we had a missing link, and it wasn't the 10 teams in the MLS. It was not that. It was this vision that Francisco had. And when he started with whatever it was, 6 indoor teams, what is it now, Tom, 11, 12 years ago? No, he had indoor teams to start with, didn't he? And then the following year he went with outdoor teams, whatever it was very small. We all looked at him and thought he was a little crazy, but he stuck with it. And without the massive corporate support that the MLS has had, he's been able to build that through people who couldn't afford to lose a lot of money. The Tom Simpsons of this world. The guys all around this country, and numbers now 93, 94 teams. I'm a little out of touch. I used to go to all the meetings in Dallas with Tom, drive myself crazy like he did, listening to all the pros and cons of how this league was going to develop, and poor old Francisco used to sit there pulling his hair out, listening to all the new experts coming in to tell him how to run his league. But he stuck with it. And we now see this incredible league that is now going to divide into a second and third division and create a structure in this country which, for those of us like Steve and myself who've been here a lot of years, have always wished would happen, but we were never able to do it. And I take my hands off to Francisco Marcus, take my hat off, sorry, not my hands off, I won't take my hands off. Take my hat off to Francisco Marcus. Don't know what to do without my hands, especially when I'm yelling at referees. But to Francisco Marcus and people like Tom Simpson and all of you people in the room, because without the UCISL, and we have to define our roles together, the MLS and the UCISL, but without that league, there's no way, in my opinion, that the national team, which we all want to be successful and ultimately win the World Cup, and the MLS, which is obviously recognized now as the Premier League in which kids want to play, but without the UCISL, neither one of those programs or organizations would be successful. So I'd like to have you guys give Tom and Francisco, even though he's not here, and yourselves a big round of applause, because I think it's fantastic. These are great because they're conventional, all right? They look like a soccer uniform. You know why the Clash is called the Clash? People ask me, why is the Clash? Why did Nike call the Clash the Clash? I said it's because the damn colours clash in the uniform. I mean, it's vile, isn't it? Our uniform? I mean, it stinks. When my players saw it, I didn't really think they were going to wear it. I mean, it was... Anyway, we've got them changed next year, and they're worse. No, they're conventional. They're teal. I'm not sure whether they're thinking about the Sharks, with a celery green, which is that silly colour that we've got in this uniform now, pinstripe across, horizontally across the shirt. So it's a little more conventional. But they've decided to put us in all black on the road in New York in 95 degrees and 200% humidity, which makes a lot of sense. So we've asked them to give us a third uniform, which is going to be all white, so that I have the option to put the guys in white instead of black in New York in 95 degrees. So we're getting there, bit by bit. But Nike, we have to give them some credit. They're not really a soccer organization, soccer company. I was with this guy's company for 10 years, I think, on a personal contract. And I've always felt that that was an outstanding organization, outstanding soccer apparel manufacturer, and certainly one of the best in the world. I don't think our league is totally happy with some of our relationships, and I'm hoping that Umbro will step forward and have a more active role in certainly the player uniforms in the near future. And certainly if they do, I hope that if I'm involved with the Clash, we might become one of those teams. I hope there's nobody from Nike here. Turn my pin upside down. But anyway, nobody really knows why we were called the Clash. It's nothing to do with the pop group, and I certainly don't know the reason, because nobody seems to have an answer. Nobody really knows why well, I suppose the Wiz is fairly obvious, isn't it? Dorothy and the Wizard and all that sort of stuff. But you know, there's some pretty bizarre things going on in the world of soccer right now, and the names and the colours of our teams as part of that. Now, I suppose when you look at these big corporations that get involved and the marketing expertise that they have, and they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on researching what the colours should be, what the names should be, we have to assume that they know what they're doing. So hopefully the Clash apparel will be as popular as the Seals one day, and certainly somewhere venturing towards the 49ers at some point. But I think we've certainly got to change our uniforms a couple of times before that happens. I feel very privileged to be in the room with so many good soccer people, players, men and women, coaches, old associates of mine, people I've known for 20 years or so. John Brooks I haven't seen for a number of years, consider him a close friend and colleague, and I know he's doing an incredible job in coaching young players. But two of the more accomplished, or certainly in recent years, certainly I'm very privileged to be a part of this night with. Steve Negresco, who I consider obviously very similar to me in many ways, because we're both ancient Europeans that came here a long time ago and decided to settle. But I don't think there's anything needs to be said about this man and what he's done for soccer at the collegiate level and soccer in general in the Bay Area. And in terms of facilities, the Negresco field is obviously one of the nicer facilities that I've seen in this area or around the country. And I think a tremendous amount of gratitude and recognition, as he has all the time, so I don't have to say it, but I just certainly want him to know what I think about him. The similarity with Tom and I is that Tom's certainly in the last 5 years impressed me as one of the better coaches in this area. And again, as somebody alluded to earlier, how he gets it done, I think is part of his personality and his character. But I consider him very similar because he coaches and he deals with kids. And I coach and I deal with kids. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 of them are on my team. And I'm having to sort that out every day. But anyway, to both Tom and Steve, keep up the good work. I came here in 1974 to play for the Earthquakes on loan. I went back to play for my team in England, came back for good in '75. And I came up to the Oakland Coliseum to watch a team called the Seals playing hockey, which I had never seen an ice hockey game in my life, even though there was a sort of a semi-pro ice hockey league in England. And I find that sort of somewhat coincidental and interesting in so much that the Seals were trying to get hockey going in a league that in the United States, apart from the Boston Bruins and a couple of other teams back east, was struggling, in a sport that was struggling. And I see the equation with the Seals now, the team that identifies with San Francisco and the Bay Area called the Seals, you guys, as interesting because whereas that team couldn't survive in those days in a league that had no youth hockey programs, where's the Youth Hockey League in San Jose, by the way? Where's the Youth Hockey League in Phoenix, Arizona? Where's the Youth Hockey League all around this country? They are in the East and they're certainly in Canada. And they will develop obviously through facilities that the Sharks are developing in the South Bay. But the Seals now, you guys, are part of a tremendous opportunity. A league that is going places, a structure with first, second, third division that is on its way. And I feel that is very important, and that although you're 21 years later and identify yourself as with the name of one of the most beautiful creatures in the world, the seal, the California seal, you know, I think it's very opportune for you guys and very important that you survive, just like it is the seal. Just on some personal notes before I move into the real reason Tom asked me to talk. You know, soccer is a tremendous game of ups and downs. Most of the ups and downs are caused by leagues like the NASL and the APSL and the people involved in that level. You know, the Dan Van Voorheeses of this world, who always called himself something disturber. I won't tell you what the first word was. But a lot of ups and downs, a lot of important moments, a lot of disappointing moments. And I think the pros generally cause that. The stable of soccer is the people like yourselves, the people that have been doing this for 100 years, the people in CSA North, who I know we have a couple of people here tonight, the referees who sometimes I have problems with, but do it for very little, and do it for, you know, for the love of the game in a lot of cases. The coaches, the parents who are volunteering time for youth programs, the administration of. And that's the stable, and that's the important fibre of the game in this country, and a lot of you people are responsible for that. You deserve a lot of credit. This week, tremendous ups and downs in the game, as far as my intimate involvement with Clash and the players. And we are preparing what's left of us to go to China, training every day. As Philip alluded to, we leave on the 26th and stay until the 9th of November, visit cities, the cities of Beijing, Shanghai and Chengdu. But in preparing for that, we've got a lot of ups and downs. I have people involved in national World Cup teams. Butler played for Jamaica last night in Mexico. They lost 2-1. Jorge Rodas, who I've considered one of our more skilled players this year, was involved in one of the worst tragedies in the history of the game last night. Certainly a down. Was on TV, on Hispanic TV last night in tears, because 83 fans that had come to watch them play against Costa Rica had died in another soccer disaster. On the upside, players like Timmy Martin, Fresno State, Paul Holliker, Santa Clara, Eddie Lewis, UCLA, Tate Ayani, UCLA, and Ramiro Corrales, the Monterrey Jaguars of last year. All played for the United States last night in Peru, in Lima, Peru. That's an up for them, it's an up for us, I'm proud of them. It's a down because our first team national players didn't want to play in Peru, because they're holding out for more money. We've got to handle that. I don't deal with players anymore. Well, I don't deal with players because Sunil Gulati deals with players, but Sunil Gulati doesn't deal with players anymore. He deals with agents. And for you young players, you should all get yourself an agent. Don't get me wrong. I should have had an agent. I never did. I'd be a lot better off now if I had. But those players, Martin, Ayani, Lewis, who played against Steve last year for UCLA, and who got his opportunity because I saw him in that game, and who's got his opportunity on the national team because he's played in the MLS this year. Those guys got their opportunity because of a negative now that's creeping in. And we don't want to let it get like baseball or football or basketball. And yes, soccer players who have a short career deserve to make good money. But again, ups and downs. And we have to deal with them. And we can't allow this tremendous euphoria, our women winning the World Cup and being one of the top 2 teams in the world still, and winning the gold medal in the Olympics. Our national team having a tremendous performance in the World Cup, men's national team. MLS, UCISL, all of the stuff that's happened in the last 20 years, 25 years as Paul says. We can't allow that to get ahead of us. We must control it, we must handle it. Steve Rammel, one of the top 3-4 goal scorers in the MLS this year, was playing in the UCISL at the beginning of the season. He's probably making, I don't know, 30,000 a year, playing for the DC United, and scored one of the goals in the playoffs recently that took them to the championship. Steve Rammel will get a lot more money next year. I hope. He should. But Steve Rammel won't go from 30,000, 40,000 to 60,000, and he shouldn't. Because the proof for Steve Rammel now is, can he do it on a year-in, year-out basis, which has to be the proof of any great player who scores goals and creeps up on people. Eric Ronaldo went to Germany and scored 9 goals in the first 8 games. Scored 1 goal in the next 30. Because they suddenly figured he was a decent player and they did things to stop him. So we have to understand where we're at. And we have to realize that you Sizzle and the people that run you Sizzle, and you guys are going pro next year, is not a cash cow. You suddenly don't go from a dinner once a year and the kind things that Tom and these people do for you to suddenly being a full-time paid soccer player. You don't suddenly jump into MLS like Steve Rammel and expect to make $100,000. And there are some people who do. Because maybe of agents, because of unrealistic ideas about where this league is at. This league is run by tremendously talented business entrepreneurs. They're the investors, they're the people that are controlling the single entity. They're the people that are saying to Sunil Gulati, you can go and buy Valderrama. You can go and buy Eric Ronaldo back from Germany. You can go and get Bernd Schuster to come and play for the Clash in China. You can go and do all these things. They also say you can't do that, and you can't do this, and we're not going to expand too rapidly, and we're not going to do some of the things a lot of people want us to do. And we're not going to pay players who haven't proved themselves over a consistent amount of time, big money, until it's right. So what my message to you guys that are players, and hopefully this is a help to the people that run this and other clubs, is be realistic, prove yourself, and prove yourself to get the opportunity. Once you get the opportunity, you've got to prove yourself again. And if you prove yourself like Steve Rammel has, you've got to prove yourself again. And maybe Steve Rammel has to score 13 or 14 goals a season for 4 years before he gets $50,000 in this league. Don't rush it, don't force it, all will go the same way as the NASL. That's very, very important. And I'm a player's coach. I'll always fight for players to get more. But I've always been realistic as far as what is there. Lamar Hunt, Robert Kraft, the guys that run major league sports teams in other sports, will not do anything to affect their investment, which is the beauty of this league as opposed to the last one. When I mean the last one, I mean the North American Soccer League. It's a controlled entity. We all had $1.3 million to spend on players. We all had $2.5 to $3 million budgets depending on the market. Okay, so the Gulati did a little bit in Donadoni's case in New York because that's New York, but within reason, it's controlled. It's a great opportunity. The best second division team in England or Romania or Germany or Mexico undoubtedly is as good as the worst first division team. Would beat them. Rochester killed Colorado last week. We all know that's a fact. There is not much difference, gentlemen and ladies, but gentlemen, in case of the guys that are interested in an MLS career, there is not much difference between you and players that are playing in the MLS. There are some players sitting in this room who I venture to say are better than players playing in the MLS. The difference is that players are prepared to make the commitment to be fully professional. And Steve and I talked about this earlier, and I know he believes this strongly, that sometimes the talent is there, but the commitment isn't. You know the player, the only player in my team who every day after practice stays and works at his game? Anybody know? Anybody take a guess? 32-year-old, bald, little titchy guy called Espinosa, who's played 56 times for the Mexican national team. He's the only one. Some of these young talents don't want to stay and work at the game. And yet, on a Saturday or a Sunday, they stick the ball wide, they miss-kick corner kicks. Things that you've got to work on. That's the message. And get all that done and taken care of before you start asking for the big salaries. Make your way in, work at it, improve, prove it, you'll get it. Thank you.
Lori, thanks. That was some insight and things that I don't think we anticipated hearing tonight, and I appreciate you having done that. Before we go on to the awards, we have one more speaker, and I want to just take one moment to answer a question and then point something out. The question is, why did we change our name from the All Blacks to the Seals? And there are a lot of us who felt very close to this name, the All Blacks, but unfortunately it belonged to somebody else, the national rugby team of New Zealand, and they kept writing us letters. That was really what started it. So we weren't able to keep it, as what it turns out. But Rich Graham also feels like we can sell a lot more tickets with the name The Seals. Also, just one other word is we have a number of people that make this happen, and there's a lot of money that goes into it. Diodora this year has been our faithful sponsor now for 3 years, and provides us with our uniforms, and we are grateful to them. We have people who provide us artwork, Ken Salvo, and do printing for us. Proform, I think, is the company. There are a lot of people and individuals who deserve credit who probably won't get mentioned tonight. My daughter Shona wants us to remember that she sold the tickets at the gate. Together with Michelle, and together with Amy, and you can all stand up and think about your wish. Now for the final speaker of the evening, and before we do the awards, it's my great pleasure to introduce Jim Spagnoli. And I think that the people who remain are diehards, so they're gonna. Jim is a USF graduate who has a distinguished career under the tutelage of no one else other than Steve Negoesco. As everybody starts from there, and is an attorney who has done a lot of work in the area of national parks and conversion back to, of military facilities which have been converted to other things, in the case of the Presidio, to a national park. Hopefully now, in the case of Treasure Island, into a wonderful soccer complex.
Thanks, Tom. The first thing I'd say is, yes, I did play under Steve, but I did not go to the Steve Negoesco School of Public Speaking, so we'll keep this short if we can. There is one story, though. I noticed a bunch of handsome young men here tonight, all pretty well dressed. And I would reflect on the fact that when we went to USF, only one of us from the team was allowed to go to any dinner. And Steve, of course, always showed up in his sweatsuit like he did again tonight. This is a course of conduct that's gone on for 30-some-odd years, and I'm taking some liberties with him right now. And of course, the reason that only one of us was allowed to go to any one of the dinners was the fact that none of us had a good shirt to wear. And so we all had one shirt that we borrowed. And you can imagine where that shirt came from. So Steve, who's the lucky recipient tonight? Which one of these fellows has your shirt on? I was told that there was a women's table here, and women's soccer table. And of course, you all know the explosive growth of women's soccer. And I looked around, I was kind of curious where it was, and I saw one table where they were throwing rolls and pinching the waiters, and I allowed this out. That must have been the women's soccer table. And so much for gender equity in soccer, I guess. There's a couple of interesting things that are going on at Treasure Island that reflect, I think, the explosive growth in soccer. And I think the tape that you saw from the folks from Umbro really classifies and typifies what our objective is, and that is we want to be that facility. We want to be that venue that creates the opportunity for the kind of sports that you saw being demonstrated in that tape. And I think it's important also to note that, you know, soccer is not just about youth programs. There's a massive adult recreational soccer component that's dying for competition and playing on absolutely substandard fields here in the States, and specifically in San Francisco. I think it's significant to note that members of the Chinese consulate have had the patience to stay the entire dinner, and we're honored by your commitment to this facility and to this concept. There are two other fellows that I think you should know about that typify the kind of commitment that soccer has had over the years, and that constitutes where it's headed. Here in San Francisco earlier this fall, there was a team from San Francisco that won the United States National Open Cup Championship in the Men's Over 30 League. Think about that. Men's Over 30 national champions here in San Francisco. Aaron Carter and John Brooks are both here, both from the national team. And I think it's that kind of potential and the kind of commitment that you've got from the folks at Umbro that make this sport absolutely pregnantly explosive. This thing is going to just blow and grow enormously in the next 4 to 5 years. And we hope to provide that venue and vehicle. So I want to show you a map. As best we can see it. And tell you what we've done. We started in 1993 doing the market research, and we took a head count of all the leagues in the city, men, women, co-ed. That's another oxymoron, by the way, co-ed soccer. I played co-ed soccer. It's not co-ed soccer. There's no difference between men and women players in those leagues. I think the game is really competitive. The fact of the matter is, what we propose to Treasure Island is to capitalize on a piece of ground that we don't think other developers are going to be real interested in. And we're proposing that we develop 45 acres into an international multi-sport athletic park. And it's important for us to emphasize the multi-sport aspect of this. While all of our hearts are in soccer, the fact of the matter is, this facility does have to pay for itself. And so in order to do that, we need to ensure that it's used year-round. And there's a perfect blend of soccer, rugby, lacrosse, volleyball, flag football, and some other general recreation activities that will enable us to use this facility year-round. The result will be that the fields will be available for use at prices about the same that you're paying in San Francisco now for absolutely substandard fields. What we're proposing is 15 international fields, 120 by 80, each and every field, all of them lit. 12 of the fields will be lit sufficiently for dusk or night use, play, and practice, and 3 of the fields will be lit for television-capable broadcasts. Those 3 fields will be in an arena configuration. One field will be completely surrounded with stands as a single field arena, and that'll seat about 8,500 people. The arena construction will be like the small and mid-sized European facilities, which are a stadium arrangement, kind of like an overgrown high school football stadium here, but with a steeper incline. The first row of seats will be about 4 to 5 feet off the ground, and the incline will be much steeper than what we have in normal high school stands, and there'll be closed stairs, so that you'll be sitting in a bowl or an arena fashion looking down on the field in a much more intimate environment than in what we consider traditional American football stadiums. That field will seat 8,500 people. We put together a double-wide field to take into account opportunities for international rugby play, which needs overruns on the pitches for an additional 20 yards. Those fields need to be about 160 by 80. And so if we drop a rugby field down in the center of a double-wide field, again on a north-south axis so we don't have any problems with the sun, we can seat upwards of 20,000 people in that stadium facility. Now you're talking about the size of crowds that really is where soccer will be probably in the next 5 years, maybe in the next 10 years. And that is in a range in the college game of about 8,000 people in an extremely successful game right now to what the MLS is drawing on the average, which is right in the 20s. Now we're not out to compete with the MLS at this point. This project is proposed based on the market analysis of recreational competitive athletes, men, women, and kids, in all the sports that I enumerated. We're out to service really everybody but the MLS, because we can't compete with the MLS at this point. It's as Mr. Callaway said, you've got to grow this thing properly, and with the kind of foresight that the folks at Umbro and some other sponsors are using, to build this thing for the recreational athlete and to grow it on the premise of grassroots athleticism will ensure a broad enough foundation so that it's economically viable. Because if it doesn't pay for itself, we'll lose it. And if it doesn't pay for itself and the city takes it over, you're going to get another set of fields like you have at the polo grounds or out at the beach. And that doesn't do anybody any good. So we propose these 2 arena fields for special events, tournaments, international exhibition games, and the like. Now the other 12 fields are essentially journeyman fields. That is, we'd use them for each and every sport, each and every night, each and every weekend. That's pretty much the whole facility. We propose to use 2 existing buildings, a gymnasium for volleyball and indoor soccer, and a weight training room, and then to build 1 clubhouse, about 20,000 square feet on 2 floors. The bottom floor would be locker rooms and public bathrooms, food and beverage, and some retail shops. And the upper floor would be kind of like this room, an open space of about 10,000 square feet, about 2,500 divided into offices, with the rest for dividable walls, just kind of like this, where we'd have referee and coaches clinics, international television reception for reception of games around the world, and used for ethnic clubs and social activities. So that's the facility. We're about 2/3 of the way through on our development equation. With the good assistance of folks like Rick Olivas and California Soccer Association North and Jan with the Golden Gate Women's League and others, we've got commitments from just about all of the adult soccer leagues, rugby leagues, and volleyball leagues in the city of San Francisco and some in the East Bay. So that's 1/3 of the development equation. The other third is the political and civic support. We have Mayor Brown's commitment to do this project, assuming we can find financing. We've had 2 votes out of the San Francisco County Board of Supervisors that support the concept of the project, again, assuming we can find financing. And that leaves the remaining 1/3 of the development equation, which is what we're working on now, and that's corporate investment. I don't say sponsorship because we're not needy enough. We intend to make a profit at this. We intend to operate this as a world-class facility year-round and pay for itself. And the only way we're going to sell it to the citizens of San Francisco is to convince the mayor that he's not going to have to put money into this thing. And if we do that, he'll back us and we can build it. So we're out shopping for investors. We're talking to all the major people. We have some handout material here tonight on the table on your way out. Feel free to take it. We want you all to be apostles. We want you all out there touting this project and saying what a good idea it is, and thinking about investors. And you never know where your next investor will come from. In my private practice, if I serviced a client well on a very small matter, that referral by word of mouth brought me other clients. So in this instance, we want to make sure that everybody understands the project. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Again, I want to thank Tom for the opportunity to come and tell you about it tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, now for the final part of the evening. And before I present the awards, let me just mention one thing. These photos up here, I mentioned, you can arrange to get them from Rich Graham. However, the action photos, if you're in the photo, you may take the photo. All right, if you're in it, you can take it. That's the way it works. Except the action photos. Okay, so the action photos, the team photos, you can't take. Some guys, okay. Now, if you want the photo blown up into a poster size, Rich will do that for you. Okay, you'll get it done. That's what he says. Okay, right? Right. All right, Rich, you'll get it done. So get your moms and dads to help you with that one because it's going to cost you. But okay, now for the reason why we're here tonight, the awards.
Go.
This before I give these awards out, I'm going to do 2 special awards that to people who deserve a special recognition. The first one, I don't have his gift with me, but he will get it. And this award goes to the SEAL Staff Member of the Year, the guy who got to be called Can-Do Sandu because Kalawant Can-Do Singh came through time after time when we needed things to get done, from arranging travel to Spokane to fixing that storeroom out in the Lincoln High School, whatever it was. when we needed game days operations, there he was, and call one can't do. I have a brush for you, and it's an honorary brush, and I'm going to provide it. I wasn't able to get it, but did he? But for your outstanding performance this year, the Seals want to say thank you very much. Another special award to a young man who joined us this year and became I think a member of our family in a way that we hadn't expected. He was at our practices, he was at our games, he was listening to us, he was trying to learn the game, he was trying to do everything he could to help us. And it's because he loves the game so much. And we went to the effort of getting him his own uniform. It was the smallest they make, but it's #1. And the only other person, this number was permanently retired, I want you to know, but for this instance we're making an exception, because this was Eduardo Yoldi's number, and no one ever will wear this number again. But Max, come on up here. The player awards this year were voted for by players, and I got some votes back, which reminded me of one thing, that when you're pointing out awards, you really do need to think of everybody's contribution, and it is almost impossible to say how grateful, how wonderful the efforts were by the players of the San Francisco Bay Seals this year. This is a team filled with guys who love this game to levels that you can't imagine. The hours that they put in to train, the effort that they put out on the field is just an extraordinary thing to watch. And we are truly blessed because we have young men who love to play this game, and they are willing to put out the time and the money to do it. Because we don't pay our players, we don't give them a thing. We do make sure that they get to the game when we go on the road, but they take care of basically themselves. They pay their way to get to practices, they pay their way to get to games unless we're on the road. And you know, they are with their actions demonstrating to us and to everybody how important this game is to them. So I got back some awards suggestions, and a couple were for players who who needed mention. Like there was one award for a player who was most likely to forget. And could be anything. He had a history of forgetting his watch on the field after practice every day for 4 years at Yale. His name is Marco Bonacorsi, and I want you to know, Marco, you got recognition this year for that. And there was an award for a player, and the player gave himself this award. It was the player most likely to overcome the physical and psychological horrors of breaking his leg. That goes to Shane Watkins. Shane? And there's an award for the buffest player on the team. It goes to my own son, Shawnee Simpson. Hey, Shawnee. And there's an award for a player who most wants to be the coach. And stand up. Everybody knows who he is. Stand up. Tony Alejandre. And Tony did a good job this year. He did a good job. He upset a few people. A lot of people thought that their subs were always because of something that Tony said to me. Yeah, I got an award. I got an award. What was it? It was something like the biggest pimp award. That's what my award. I don't know where that came from. Now to the awards that we're looking forward to.
Hey, Tom, you help?
Okay. And unwrap them. The one thing I'd like to say before I hand out these awards is that leadership over the years to the SEALs has been really one of the key elements to our success. Last year we had Mike Carlson and Rob Gallo as our team captains, and I know Mike, are you still here, or did you? Mike had to leave. But Rob, are you still here? Rob Gallo, thank you. And you know, that brought their leadership and together with Peter Cochran was instrumental in bringing us to a national championship game and a tremendous season record of 20 wins and 1 loss before that final game. It was truly a remarkable season. But we've been blessed with leaders. The team is just ripe with them, and this year we have awards for our team, 2 team captains, and again it was their leadership that made the difference. Angelo Sabalo, I want to first give you the captain's award for our 1996 team. You'll come up here.
Hey, I know when the year started, we had planned to win it all, and we fell 1 game short again. But as much time as we all put into it, we had to be getting something out of it. And it's hard. It was hard originally to figure out what it was, because there are times you didn't want to go to practice. But for the most part, we made it. We fell just short, but I think we took away something from it that a lot of players don't get. I mean, even teams that might win it all, they don't feel that they're not as close as we've been. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. He's been there, and that's what makes this a success. That's what makes San Francisco United a success. And I appreciate everybody for coming out and being a part of it. Thanks. Thanks.
They're all here. I just had to find them. The next award goes to our other team captain. This is a young man who said that maybe this was a chance to revive his competitive juices when I asked him if he was interested in playing soccer with us. Aram Kardzer, our goalkeeper, is here. Aram has led teams as a goalkeeper to, I don't know, some ungodly number of national championships. It's 5? Is that it, Aram? And Aram led his team again to a national championship. We didn't pull it off, but again, the leadership of Aram and Angelo really was what made the difference. And Aram, would you like to say a few words?
For most of the guys on the team, they know that I'm usually not short of words, but playing this year with the SEALs, like Tom said, really brought out my competitive spirit again. You know, I've been playing with a number of teams over the years, and this really took me back to the beginning. Took me back to the beginning for a couple of reasons. And one of them is that most of these guys that I played with were ball boys when I was playing at USF and playing at some of the, with the Greek Americans. I remember them when they were like 8, 9 years old, and that's saying something. And it also brings me back to a beginning of where I started out with soccer, and that was at the youth level. And I look at Steve, and I actually played for Lori with a local select team. But it was guys like Tom who volunteered their services day in, day out, you know, cutting oranges, getting the lineups, that kept me playing in the sport of soccer. And I'd just like to thank Tom and the SEALs for giving me an opportunity again.
The next award is for the Defender of the Year. The SEALs and the staff couldn't make up their mind who that was. We had two gentlemen that we felt were Defenders of the Year, and we couldn't do it, so we did with the old Solomon thing, and we split it. They're both going to get awards. So I want to welcome both of them up here. They both are uniquely qualified for their award. They are outstanding marking backs. They represent the best in terms of what we are looking for on the field, in terms of fulfilling assignments, in terms of working on behalf of the team, in terms of showing leadership on the field. And it's hard to, it was just impossible to distinguish between the two in terms of who the Defender of the Year award went to. So I'm going to welcome both Tim Weaver and C.J. Brown up here to receive awards. Just like they play, then a few words. Just give them the sign and they'll get it done. Thanks, fellas. Moving up the field to the midfield. The midfielder of the year is a special guy because he started out with us from the very beginning. He was there when this whole thing started, and he's been with us for a long time. He was recognized by, I think, everybody who voted unanimously, except for maybe a couple exceptions. He's the guy that was the glue they kept the transition together between the offense and defense. And I wanted to present this award to Ken Bolin.
I just want to thank everyone on the team. It was a great year this year. And, once again, we're a game short, but hopefully the next time around we'll get it. And thanks everyone. Thank you, Tom.
The last two awards have names to them. The first is the Silver Flipper Award, and the last will be the Eduardo Yoldi Award. First we'll do the Silver Flipper Award. Last year the Silver Flipper Award had a different name, and it was the All Blacks, All Balls Award. And we've become more PC this year. It was won last year by Tim Weaver, and certainly he was in hot competition again this year. However, another player competed with Timmy on the issue of who's the guy that's got the fire on the field, who sort of represents the spirit of who we are on the field, and does it day in, day out, does it in practice, does it in the game, never is compromising with the quality of his practice, the quality of his performance in the game, and is never willing to compromise with a loss. Except for one one bleak moment up in Spokane when his competition led him to nearly take on the whole 2,000 fans of Spokane. He represented us honorably well, and we are proud to present this award to my own son, Kim Tai Simpson. So come on, everybody, get the silver ticket. But it's to Kim Tai Simpson, who inspires greatness.
I love you, Dad.
The last award is it's a dual award because it is the Eduardo Yoldi Award, and it is for the MVP of the team, and it is the Striker of the Year award. So it was sort of a two birds with one stone kind of thing. And just a little background about this player. He's a player I've been watching play for Steve Negoesco for the last 3 years, and I was wondering a lot about him, and I had a lot of questions about what he would do when he asked to play with us for a season, because I wasn't quite sure how it would work out. I had watched him run around for Steve for a few years, and I knew that he had great potential, but I couldn't quite figure out what it was all about, because he just didn't have a heck of a lot of success for those years, and I was very stingy with playing time with this guy. In fact, he had a phenomenal season. He scored 19 goals in as many games, but he only really started for half of them, the last 7 or 8 of the season. So he packed all of his wump into basically, 9 full games plus a little bit. And he astonished everybody with productivity. He not only did that, but he rose to the occasion on moments when we were at our lowest to score goals that we needed desperately. And and I think all of the players here remember when we were in Spokane and we were struggling against that team. Who was it? Was it? Who was that team? That team from Spokane. We were playing the Spokane Shadow or something. Okay, and they packed it in, and we just couldn't do anything. We couldn't do anything, and this player did something which he'd been trying to do for Steve for years, but successfully did for us. He literally dribbled through a whole team, put the goal in the net, and the team absolutely went berserk. It was an astonishing feat. He did this in a game when a few of our own players were sort of creating a kind of self-imploding event because they were so upset with one another's play that they were more focused on that than what we were doing. It was a peculiar thing. I think I don't want to go into all of the details, but the guys who were involved know, and it was a strange experience as we were sort of falling apart from within. And we were falling apart because some of the older players on the team, more experienced, had lost focus. So this young whippersnapper guy who scored a critical goal for us, and then when the Spokane team came back and tied up a game in the last few minutes, he went ahead and put another one in just to make it clear that if we needed something, we could count on it. And then we went to the finals back in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and we played 3 games there, and in the first 2, I think he put away 4 goals, something like that. Anyway, from what seemed to be a questionable position on the team to what was clearly the most valuable contribution, the most worthy contribution, especially this award, especially in honor of Eduardo Yoldi. I'm very proud to present this award to Chris McDonald.
I just want to say thank you very much, and like Angelo said, you know, all the guys on the team were close all year long, and I just want to accept this on behalf of every member of the team. We were all the most valuable players. There wasn't one most valuable player. It was a pleasure to be surrounded by such great players, and I just want to say thank you very much.
Before we close the evening, I want again to say thank you to everybody who has come here this evening, and I do want to touch on one important issue before we go. It's been in the air. Oh yes, and we have to do the award. What is, by the way, do we have the what is the award for the evening? Rich? A night at Tom's house?
A night of sleepover at Tom's house.
Yes. Okay, one of the shirts. Okay, you get one of the shirts. All right. So you get your choice of a shirt if you win the award. Before, let me just touch on one subject, and that is the issue about who are the SEALs next year and where will we be playing. First, the answer about where we'll be playing. Treasure Island won't be ready for at least another year or so. So we're staying right at USF. In terms of who we are next year, I think that it's been in the wind. It's been discussed amongst us for a long time. The appropriate time for us to leave amateur status and go into professional status. This is the year that we're going to do that. And we are no longer going to participate in the league as an amateur team. For those of you who know us, you understand that we have been dedicated to a few principles. One is to put the highest quality of soccer on the field we can for the least dollar spent. And the reason we have had that goal is because one of the reasons soccer has not done well in this country is because people have been throwing money at it for a long time, thinking that that was the solution. We felt that in order to make this work, we needed to show how you can put something on the field that works without throwing money at it. And we are, even now, as we are going professional, we will retain the same philosophy and attitude. We're going to call ourselves professional, and we will be a professional franchise in every sense of the word. However, we are going to be the most frugal franchise in the USISL because we will continue to demonstrate that putting quality soccer on the field doesn't have to be something that is done irresponsibly in a financial way. Remember, the United States, the SEALs, when you look at every team in the United States, in the USISL, the SEALs / All Blacks over the past 4 years have the best won-loss record in the league. That includes every team that's plays. We're talking about comparing ourselves with the Greensboro Dynamos or the New York, whoever they are, the Long Island Rough Riders, and the team from Minnesota. All of these teams have been in the same boat as us. We play amateur and we play professional teams. Our professional, just against professional teams alone for the last 2 years, is 20 wins and 3 losses. We have performed to the level that the other teams in this league have performed without having to put on the airs or attitude of something that we're not. And we believe that that is an important principle, and that we're going to stick with it, and we're going to build soccer in a way that is financially responsible, because we're tired of seeing people going bankrupt supporting this sport. So that's what we will be doing this year. Now, some of you have heard speculation about going A-League. yes, the USISL did ask us when we were back there if we would consider doing that. We gave them a proposal, some conditions under which we would be interested in doing that, and the league has not responded yet to the proposal in a formal way. But word is that we're probably not going to be going A-League this coming year. We're probably going to we're a professional team without going into the A-League. That's the most likely scenario at this point. That was what we intended to do, and I'm totally comfortable with that. A movement to the A-League or Division II status would be certainly appropriate in the future, and if the Treasure Island thing happens, I think that's something that we certainly want to do. In the meantime, we will build for those days, and we will be building the organization which can support moving into that direction. Okay, now for the drawing for the night, and I think then we're going to close it and get out of here. All right, this is the blind pick, and if nobody's here because they've gone home, then we'll pick somebody else. Does anybody in this house have the number 2974? I better check my home. All right, no 2974. You got it? Oscar. It looks like a real number, Oscar. Congratulations. So, Oscar. By the way, Oscar didn't get introduced tonight, but Oscar Padilla played for us this year. He played sweeper and did an outstanding job, and we're delighted that Oscar was won the award. Thanks for being for having your right fingers. So, choose the one you want. At this point, I think that we're ready to close. And again, I want to thank everybody who came tonight. And if there, what's that? Are there any final comments? Anybody else want to grab it? Well, there's only one that's going out. Okay. So to Paul and Lori and Rolf, thank you very much. Jim, and which speaker have I missed there? And Philip, thank you. And to the staff, thank you very much. To the players that made the season, thank you very much. And the parents who've supported them.
I have one other addition.